Hi, everyone. I'm Christine Curzio. I own Simply Credit Card Processing. It's my own business. I have a few people that work for me. I have been in the credit card processing or merchant processing business for over 20 years now. I decided to branch out and go on my own about 6 years ago. And one of the things that differentiates me from some of the bigger shops or even some of my competition is that I like to educate the business owners on how merchant processing works. It's very easy to have to call someone, a salesperson, come in and talk to you about merchant processing. And remember that they are salespeople. They'll sell you anything. That's what they are good at, selling. But when you're choosing a merchant processing company, there's some key points that you really need to think about. So let's get started. These are the hot topics that I've had questions about for ages. Number one, choosing the best processor. We're going to go over some of that criteria. The top 3 questions from business owners. What are the differences between rates and fees? And that's a really good, that's some good information because everyone is always asking about rates and fees. And then what are the required documents to open a merchant account? So choosing the best processor, how do you do that? Number one, Google them. Make sure they're reputable. Do they have any Google reviews? Take a look at them. Anyone can sell you their merchant processing, and that's fine. But what happens when you have a problem, when you have an issue with your terminal or trying to process a transaction with a customer standing in front of you? You want to call customer service and get a live person on the phone right away. You don't want to be stuck in that voicemail trap, and you don't want to get voicemail. You want to be able to speak to someone immediately that's in customer service. So make sure that you choose a reputable company who has a great support system. Give them a call. Ask them for their rates and fees in writing. There are certain things that they'll tell you, but in writing, it'll say something different. You want to take a look at the contract. I have one in here that we're going to show you and what to look for on the rates and the fees. You want to confirm that there are no, number 3, you want to confirm that there are no termination fees. Termination fees are buried in the contract and they're called ETF, early termination fees. You also want to make sure there's no minimums as far as processing goes. You want to make sure that it's a 1-year contract. There's no such thing as no contract because there are certain rules and regulations that Visa, MasterCard, and the card brands have to have a merchant abide by as far as fraud and things like that. So there's always a contract, and usually it's for a year. My contracts are for a year. I do not charge any termination fees, but some processors do. So you want to be careful of that. Here is a sample merchant statement. And you'll notice that I have these red arrows on here. For Visa, MasterCard, Discover, additional charge of 10 cents and 2.35%. So I don't know if you can see that. That's buried in the contract. So in addition to the rate that they quoted you, they're also adding on 2.35% and 10 cents. So some people don't look at all that fine print in the contract, and that could be a big deal. So you want to always take a look at the contract. If you're going with a merchant processing company and you're not sure, send it to me, call me. I'll be happy to take a look at it for you. Look at the bottom right. You'll notice that there is a termination fee. That's a large termination fee. That means if you terminate your services with this merchant processor before the contract date, which sometimes is a year, could be 3 years, they're going to charge you $595 deducted directly out of your bank account. So these are just 2 items that you want to make sure when you are looking at a merchant processor that you focus on: the cancellation fees and the early termination fees and any extra added fees. So how do you choose the best processor aside from what we just talked about? These are the top processors that are out there. There's Stripe, Square, PayPal, and then there's the traditional merchant processor like myself and thousands others. So Stripe, Square, and PayPal are very good. They have great reporting. They're very good for a smaller merchant. The reason that I don't recommend them is because there are debit rates and there are credit rates, and Stripe and Square and PayPal combine the debit and credit rates. So if you're going for a cup of coffee at, let's just say, Susan's coffee shop, her coffee is $3, $5 a cup of coffee. Typically, a consumer will put a small ticket item on their debit card, not their credit card. Like a jewelry purchase of furniture would go on a credit card. So if you're purchasing something on your debit card, usually it's $10 and below, maybe $15 and below. So as a business owner, and let's just say I'm Susan, I sell coffee. As a business owner, anyone that uses their debit card, the rates are half the price of a credit card rate. Why is that? Because the debit card doesn't go through the credit card networks, Visa, MasterCard, Discover. They only go through the banks. They don't go through the card association. So that's why debit rates are so much lower, and business owners like people to use debit in their store because they get charged less on the interchange rates at the end of the month. However, Stripe and Square and PayPal do not offer debit rates. Everything is one rate, whether it's debit or credit. So Stripe has an online payment system, and look at some of these rates here, 3.5% and 15 cents for a transaction. So 3.5% is kind of high. If you look at PayPal, similar, 3.5%. When you go with a traditional merchant processor, whether it's me or someone else, they take a look at your business because there are so many different types of rates and fees out there. So they'll take a look at your business and determine the best rate, and usually it's less than 3.5%. I'm not saying that these three are bad. They're very good for a smaller merchant, but if you do have low ticket items like coffee or breakfast sandwiches or something that's a low ticket price, you want to consider going with a traditional merchant processor. So what are the easy steps that you can choose and a merchant processor and accept cards? So what you would like to do for accepting credit cards online or with a virtual terminal are, again, doing your research, checking Google. You want to choose your merchant account. A merchant processor will talk to you about a virtual terminal or a gateway. Virtual terminal or gateway is a website that you log into that is very secure, that does not store any cardholder data, and neither should you, because that's against the PCI and the credit card laws and regulations. So you want to first choose the merchant account and link it to your bank account. This way the money flows right into your account when you make a sale, and the fees come directly out. You also want to configure your e-commerce settings if you have an e-commerce account or you're selling something online. And again, it's not difficult. It may sound a little bit more daunting, but it's not difficult. Many gateways like Authorize.net, Network Merchants. If you have products you want to sell, you may want to use Shopify or WooCommerce. You would set these products up online on your website. It's very easy. These programs are drag and drop, and it's really very simple. And again, if anyone has questions, please feel free to reach out to me, call, text, email, and I can help you steer you in the right direction. In addition, one of the most important things as well is creating invoices and receipts and sending links for invoices, because yes, you're doing all this work. Now, how do you get paid? You can either send a link on your tablet, your smartphone, your computer, send a link to someone that would give them the invoice information, and they can click it and pay it. And it's all one step, one stop shopping, but it's only one step rather than getting a paper invoice, putting it in the mail, or even emailing them an invoice. Then they have to pull their credit card out and write a check or call you with the credit card number. So creating online invoices and receipts really is the best way to go, especially nowadays. Everyone is using credit cards, and even though cash is king, a lot of people don't carry cash in their wallets anymore. One of the other things we'll go over a little bit later on are some of the documents that are required. And I just want to point out that KYC is Know Your Customer. So all of the banks and the credit card processing companies all need to have certain information so that they know who you are and that everything ties together. And we'll go over that in a later slide. This is key. These are the top 3 questions, believe it or not, that I get all the time. What is this convenience fee that's being passed on to the customer? This is not fair. I don't like it. What can I do about it? The next thing is, when are funds deposited into my bank account? Because everybody wants to get their money after they process the transactions. And then what is a virtual terminal or a gateway? So let's talk about this convenience fee. The convenience fee is a maximum of 4%. You can use 2%, you can work with 3%, but 4% is the maximum. And that's passed on to the customer. So if you've gone shopping lately, if you've gone to the hairdresser, if you've gone to your local restaurant, pizzeria, a lot of these establishments now are charging a 4% fee to you as the customer. So take the business hat off for a moment and put the customer hat on. So look at this receipt. This receipt shows that you should be paying $56.25 for the items you purchased, but they have a cash discount program, and the line item is called non-cash adjustment. So you'll see something as like a service fee, service charge, cash discount. They call it whatever they would like to call it, but in reality, it is being passed on to you. So what does that mean? It means that the merchant, the business owner, doesn't pay any credit card fees. They're passing all those fees on to the customer, and at the end of the month, they're not seeing a huge bill for all of those merchant fees, like $1,000 or $2,000 coming out of their bank account, because those fees are being passed on to the customers. Now, the caveat is that the merchant, the business owner, must have a sign at the front door or right near his register outlining that they charge this cash discount fee. Cash discount technically means that you're going to pay less if you pay with cash. It's a discount for paying for cash. So sometimes the words get a little confusing, but that's exactly what it means. So next time you're at an establishment, and how many of us do this? We get the receipt, we put it in our pocketbook or our wallet, and we don't even look at it. Look at the receipt next time. See if they're charging you a cash discount. Is there anything that we can do about it? Typically not. It is a very good program for a business owner that wants to pass along those fees. Now, business owners can bypass this. So if you go to your hairdresser and you are his top client and you bring 1 million people to his business, you can always say to him, can you please bypass? Because we know that, you know, especially for women, hair salons minimum is $200 and up. So 4% on that adds up pretty quickly. So these are one of the things that you can ask your business owner to bypass if you want to. And if they don't have the capability of bypassing them, tell them to call me, because we do that. So the next thing, this is very easy. For most merchant processors, they deposit your funds in your bank account the very next day. You'll see it as early as 10 a.m. And you can batch out your terminal or end your sales sometimes as late as 9 o'clock at night Eastern time. This is a very popular question I get. One of the things that I've seen some merchant processors do is charge $10 or $5 a month for next day funding. And next day funding is free. So please look at your rates and fees if you're signing up with a new merchant processor. And what is a virtual terminal or a gateway? It's an online payment system. You have a website. If you have an internet connection, you log in to a website that's secure with a username and password, and you'll see something like this. It allows you to enter a person's credit card information and charge their card, and boom, you're finished. Wherever you have an internet connection, you're able to take payments. So this can be set up manually where you would actually type in the URL and you can enter the information automatically, enter the information into the gateway and the card will process. Or I have the capability of setting this up on your website so that your customers can charge any of the products or services that you offer 24/7 without you even touching it. It can be set up as a page on your website, and your customers go onto that website page and they can enter in their own credit card information, press the submit button, and the funds will come into your bank account the very next day. So this is something to consider if you're selling products and services. And again, if you'd like to learn more about it, let me know. So how do you use a gateway without using your website? As I had just mentioned, you would log in with your user ID and password. You would have the cardholder information handy or have them on the phone and they'll give you the card information right away and enter it right into this screen. And at the very bottom on the left, you'll see send receipt email. They will receive a receipt. You click charge and that's it. It's very seamless. Just make sure you don't keep any credit card data. Shred any data if you happen to write the card number down, because it's very important that you don't store or keep any credit card information in your computer, especially now with hackers. So let's talk a little bit more about debit and credit and the differences. So everyone knows what the debit cards look like versus the credit card. Debit cards typically say debit on it. There's two types of debit. There is something called PIN and something called signature. PIN debit is easy to remember because you enter your PIN number. When you enter your PIN number, it does not go through the card networks. It goes through a different network called either NICE, Star, Maestro, Excel, and I'll show you this on a merchant statement in a later slide. So the PIN debit, most people use their PIN debit cards, as I mentioned earlier, for lower priced services or goods, actually, for products, coffee, tea, the bakery, things of that nature, or even, you know, a fast food place, you know, McDonald's, Wendy's, or, you know, macaroni and cheese places that are popping up now, pita places. So that's when a lot of people use their debit cards. So if you are a merchant that takes a lot of debit cards or has lower price, you want to talk to me about a regular merchant processing company versus PayPal, Stripe, or Square. Now, signature debit doesn't require the PIN, but you're still using your debit card, but you're signing for it on the receipt, just like a credit card. The debit rate applies, but it goes through Visa and MasterCard. So there are two types of debit. The PIN debit is not allowed to be charged the cash discount, but the signature debit can be. So these are important if you are a business owner that's considering the cash discount program. There's a few rules and regulations to the cash discount program, much more than I've discussed with you. And if you're interested in that, let me know and I can go over that with you. So let's talk about more rates and fees. The interchange rates increase twice a year. It's called the spring release and the fall release, and they change twice a year, once in April and once in October. These rates and fees are effective as of April 2021. There are over 300 interchange rates. So these are just a few of the interchange rates that I've added on here. These are the basic rates that Visa, MasterCard, and Discover publish to the merchant processing companies. So for PIN debit, it's 0.5% and 22 cents. Look at how low that rate is. Signature debit, use your debit card and you sign for it like a credit card. 0.8 is from Visa and 1% is MasterCard, or 1.05. But if you look at a regular retail rate, if you walk into a store, use a credit card, those rates are 1.5% average. How much are you being charged? Well, the merchant processors like myself, we add so that we can cover our overhead and staff and that nature. Sometimes we add 1%, some people add 3%, some add whatever percent they want. But no merchants actually get these rates that are listed here because the merchant processors have to add their rate to this. Typically it's 1%. So for a store owner that's going to take a retail card, the lowest you'll probably see is, maybe 2%, 2.5%, depending on, again, the type of establishment you have, the type of products you have, and the type of risk. CBD stores are not really allowed to process cards. And if it is a CBD store and they are processing cards, their category that they registered with Visa MasterCard is not a CBD category. Some of these establishments are calling themselves bookstores, which is illegal, but they're doing that to get around credit card processing. So e-commerce fees. E-commerce fees could be as low as, now e-commerce and MOTO, which is mail order, telephone order, are the same as card not present. Card not present is exactly that. It means that you're calling or you're entering your information online. The card is not physically present to the business owner. So those rates are going to be a little bit higher because the fraud risk is a little bit higher. So that's how that works. So some of the factors that affect these interchange rates are the debit cards versus a credit card. Debit and PIN cards definitely have lower rates than the credit cards because the risk is lower. Rewards cards and corporate cards pay the most because they have perks that are given to the card member or the card holder. And who pays for those perks? Not the bank, not the card holder, but the merchant. So rewards cards are very high on interchange rates. And I didn't have those rewards cards listed, but there's so many of them. The World card, the Elite card, cashback cards, and you'll see them advertised anywhere. Card not present is one of the highest rates because the risk is so high, because the card is not physically in your hand. What else can you do to, when I look at a merchant and I have to assess the merchant for what type of rates and fees I provide to them, I have to look at their business type. Are they brick and mortar retail store? Are they an online store? How do they take their cards over the phone? So for instance, a pizzeria or a deli, they have people walking in. A pizza slice is, $2.55 now, but they also take orders over the phone. They take credit cards over the phone. So those rates are going to be different. If I walk into the pizzeria with my credit card and pay $10 for a few slices, that interchange for that pizzeria is going to be a little different than if I call them, tomorrow and tell them I need a $200 order for my family dinner and they take my card over the phone. Their rate is going to be a little bit different. So one merchant or one business owner having their business can have different types of rates. They will have a base rate, but most of the time they will be charged a bunch of different rates depending on who walks in with what type of a card, whether it's a rewards card or a plain vanilla card or a debit card, or if they take the order over the phone, or if they take the order in person and run it through their terminal. So these are some important factors to consider. There's so many different ways and rates and fees that to go over it would take, 3 or 4 different webinars.
I have a question, Chris.
So let's take a look at a sample merchant here. So web reports. Web reports are really not needed. A lot of people don't look at this information. Some of the merchant processors sneak in these fees. $59 a month is a lot of money to pay for a report that you probably don't even need. You need your statement at the end of the month. There are some business owners that want to see all of their data. They want to analyze their data, who's walking in the door, how many debit cards, how many credit cards. They want to analyze it in Excel spreadsheets, and maybe the web reports is good for you. But honestly, in all my years of merchant processing and even with my own business, I don't really have any business owner that has asked me to see the detail in the data. The merchant statements show how many debit cards, how much, the average ticket. They show all the credit cards, whether they were Visa, MasterCard, Discover, American Express. But most business owners wear 17 hats already, and the last thing they want to do is analyze their merchant statement. Most business owners, some of them have even said to me, Christine, there's too much information. I can't, I just can't comprehend. Just do it. Just sign up. I can't think about this. And I understand that. As a business owner myself, we're all wearing so many hats. We don't have time to focus on this, but this is my wheelhouse. This is what I'm good at. So if you need help, call me and I'll help you analyze your statement and dissect it for you. I've done this a million times. As much as I love your business, but you want to stay where you are with your current merchant processor, I'm okay with that, as long as I can help you. So these are the debit fees. These are the associations that I had mentioned earlier. Interlink should have been highlighted in yellow, but Interlink, Maestro, Nice, and Star, those are the debit networks when you use a PIN debit card. So you'll see on this statement, discount due is really the interchange rates that are due from the merchant to the credit card processing company. So it looks like the amount deducted, it's only $804, but the discount due is $1,500. The fees are $836. So the total is a little bit more than $804. So this is a tricky merchant statement, and it drives me crazy because it's trying to trick you on purpose so that you don't know exactly what you paid. But if you go to your bank statement, I can tell you it's not going to say $836.25. It'll be a lot more. So these are some little tricks that I wanted to show you on merchant statements. And if you have a merchant statement and you'd like to email it to me and I'll take a look at it, feel free. Here's another merchant statement with some other fees. So batch header, it means every time you close out your terminal every evening, you're going to get charged a small fee. I don't usually charge 5 cents. You're going to batch out 30 days a month times 5 cents. It's not worth it to me to charge, a small fee like that. This one is 10 cents every day. The monthly fee service, it's a customer service fee. I do charge a customer service fee because there is a lot that goes into managing a merchant account. An ACH reject fee. This person didn't have enough funds in their bank account to cover some of the fees that were being deducted, so the merchant processor charged them a $25 ACH reject fee. So some of these fees are okay. Some are, I sometimes call them bogus fees, but these are okay. Now, one of the things that you can do to save on your merchant processing is very simple. On page 1 of your merchant statement, there always has to be the merchant name. You'll see on the top left, it's Card Connect. They're located in Pennsylvania, and there's their phone number. They always have a phone number on their statement at the top. Give them a call. Now that you're familiar with some of these rates and fees, if you're a business owner, give them a call and let them know that you want a rate review, or you want to talk to them about reducing the rates, eliminating the rates. They would rather keep you as a customer than lose you. So they will review your rates. So again, as much as I would love your business and I want you to move over to my merchant processing company, this is one easy fix. Call the phone number on your paper statement. If you don't have a paper statement, you can look online. By law, they have to send you a monthly statement. Visa, MasterCard rules and regulations. So you have to have that statement somewhere, either in the mail or online. And the phone number is right here. So you can easily ask them to reduce your rates. If they give you a hard time, or if you'd like me to be on the phone with you because I speak that lingo, I'd be happy to do that too. I've done it before. I had a person who had a bagel shop. We called the merchant number. I was able to reduce his rates and fees, not by much, but he wasn't processing with me. After we got off the phone, he said to me, I'm opening up a new bagel store. It's in a big place. It's bigger and better. I'm going to be doing triple the amount, and I want you to manage it. And I had no clue that that was going to happen. Only because I helped him, he was then able to give me his merchant processing with his store. So I might not have your account today, but I'm sure you'll remember me, and maybe in a few months or a year later, you'll call me and say, hey, I need your services. So again, give me a call. My contact information is at the end of the presentation. So when I'm talking about merchant processing, some of these retail establishments you'll see have a terminal in their store. Some of them have a POS, point of sale system. Mostly restaurants, pizzerias have the POS system, bars. Some people in the field, salespeople, like a guy coming to install your carpets, or a painter guy coming to paint your house, or your landscaper, plumber, electrician. A lot of blue collar workers have a payment application right on their phone, and you can take payments. And I offer this right on your mobile phone, whether you have an Android or an iPhone. You can either enter the credit card information, or there's a little device that I can sell you. I think it's less than $50. You plug it right into your phone, and you can swipe the card right on your smartphone. And after you make that transaction and charge that person's card, a pop-up will come up on your smartphone asking if you want to email or text the receipt to that person. And if the person says, oh, I don't have my credit card, I don't have cash, I don't have this, then you say, okay, let me invoice you. So instead of taking the payment right then and there, you can go to another screen and say, invoice this person. So you'll email or text them an invoice. They will receive it on their phone or email. They click that link, type in their credit card, and boom, press send, and that money will be in your bank account the very next day, if they can send it to you before 9 p.m. that night. So there's many options on ways you can take credit cards. So don't think that you need to have a terminal, you have to have a storefront. You can do it online, on your phone, on your iPad. There's so many different ways. So what are the merchant processing companies do offer this as well? So it's not just me. There are a lot of them out there that do offer it, but I'd like to only talk about mine. So required documents. This is very important. There are certain documents that are needed to open up a merchant account. And again, I put the KYC on here because it is very important. I think it's the Patriot Act that's called. It's Know Your Customer. You have to make sure that the business owner has, valid information. So the SS4 form. The SS4 form you would receive from the IRS. All it is a letter. And on the top of the letter, it's usually 2 pages, maybe 3 pages. All it states is your name, the date, and it has your tax ID number in the top right corner, and it has your business name exactly. So I was doing business. Somebody wanted me to do their credit card processing for them. I said, okay, what's the name of your business? And let's just say they called it Balloons Are Us. So when I'm gathering all the information, they didn't have their SS4 form right away. So I'm typing in Balloons Are Us. Come to find out that that's not the name of the business. That's a DBA, doing business as. I need the corporate name of the business. So the corporate name of the business was Party Rentals Unlimited, not Balloons Are Us. So this is why it's so important to get the SS4 form so I can see the exact name of your business. And the reason that we need to do this is because the IRS and the credit card processing companies now talk to each other. They hadn't talked to each other for a very long time, but the past 2 years, they've started to talk to each other so that every time you run a sale, that sales income is reported to the IRS. Even though your tax ID number might be the same, the business name has to match what's on file at the IRS. And now the credit card processing companies have decided to add a new revenue stream to their books called TIN, tax ID number fee. So if your business name does not match what's on the SS4 form or match what's at the IRS, they are going to charge you what's called a TIN fee. Could be $9.95 a month, $15 a month. This is another way for merchant processors to make additional revenue. So that's why what I do is I always ask for the SS4 form to make sure everything matches. So it's important to have that in addition to or instead of the business license. The business license that you usually hang up in your establishment also has your tax ID number and the corporate name. The next thing that we need is a valid driver's license for all the business owners that are going to be listed on the account. If you own the business with someone else and they or you own 50% or more, I need those business licenses, the driver's license, I should say, for all of those business owners. If you're the only owner, then I just need your driver's license. The driver's license has to be valid, not expired. I can't really tell if it's suspended or not, but as long as it's not expired, the date on there would tell you that. The next thing that we need is the voided check. You can give me your bank account and your routing number, but sometimes some people transpose those numbers or there's a mistake. When you have a voided check, it has the bank number and the routing number right on the bottom, as you know. If it's a new bank account, because you're a new business, you just have to make sure when you go to set up that bank account, you ask the banker for a letter for your merchant processing company, and they've done it 100 times. They know exactly what you need. It just has to have your name on it, your bank name on it on bank letterhead, their name and phone number in case we have to call them, and it'll have your bank account and routing number on it. So it's not something, even if you forget to get it while you're at the bank, you can always call your bank and they know exactly what it is you need and they'll send it to you right away. If you are again, if you're a new merchant, we would need 1 or 2 bank statements. So most merchant processors need 1 or 2 of your past bank statements just to make sure that you are a valid business and you do have some funds flowing in and out of that. If you have been in business for a while, we may ask you for your past month or 2 or 3 merchant account statements so that we can see your processing. Because some merchants have chargebacks, which is another webinar we'll talk about. So there are certain key pieces of information that we would need in order to start a new merchant account for you. And lastly, the Social Security number for all the business owners. And the reason that the Social Security number is needed is because they do what's called a soft credit check. They go in and they make sure that you've never been convicted of a crime, specifically, stealing or any other major crime. They're not looking as much for, they're not doing a hard credit report on you. They want to make sure that you are who you say you are and make sure that, your account is valid. So these are the required documents to open an account. And if you have any questions about, driver's licenses or other forms of ID, picture ID, let me know. But for now, I think that's about all. So does